What's going on, guys? It's Jake. We're back in front of the YouTube video. We have a couple things to wrap up on the car, but I wanted to make the main focus of this video on the KEIN rear strut tower X brace. So that's what we have here on the ground. I want to give a massive shout out to KEIN. If you guys aren't familiar, they make aftermarket bracing products for all the Subaru platforms, anywhere from older WRXs all the way up to the brand new stuff. So if you guys are looking for any type of bracing products, I'm going to put their stuff in the description. And also make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel, because if this video does really well, we're going to be putting more of the KEIN products on the car. So I have it here on the ground and I just assembled it briefly, because when you first get this thing and unbox it, it's all saran wrapped. So you kind of have to put it together just to get a look at what it's like. So I have it halfway together here. So as you guys can see, it is a X brace. It's going to go to the strut tower, and the little brackets that actually bolt to the strut tower have an L and an R for the left and the right side. And then there's also some little brackets here that are going to go down to the side of the strut tower, just like that. So that way we can have support on the bottom and something to bolt to. So I'm going to test fit this on the car. We're also going to get the front strut brace on the car. So I'm going to get that done in this video. We also have to paint the catch can bracket black. And then I also have an O-ring for the back of the turbo, because when I installed the turbo and removed it so many times, I accidentally had the O-ring pinched on the seal of the housing. So I had to order another one. Not a big deal, because we're not even really ready for all that stuff yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and get that put on. We're gonna tighten the turbo down as far as the V-band up pipe connection and also the down pipe connection, because I'm really happy with how the turbo is sitting right now, and I think that's going to be its final resting place. So I'm going to tighten that down, going to get that bracket painted. But first, let's go to the back of the car and get this thing test fitted. It shouldn't take too long, and I've heard really good things about how they fit. So we're gonna check it out. So we're at the back of the car. The first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and get these covers off the strut towers. So there's one on each side. I don't think it'll be too big of a deal. I have these little plastic pry bars. All right, guys, so I kind of have it just sitting in here. Those covers, if you guys are wondering, they're just a whole bunch of like pop clips. They just pop right off. So they're not too bad. As you can see, we're gonna have to trim out the carpet a little bit, which I expected to have to happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some shear scissors, I think, and try to like trim out the carpet just a little bit, because I would like to have this thing like fit on here before we get it powder coated red, just to make sure that everything's gonna work properly. But I'm gonna be very careful doing this, because I don't want it to be super obvious that I've made major modifications back here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that very carefully, and I'll catch up with you guys, cut a little bit at a time, and see how we do. So I have one side test fitted. I've cut some of the carpet back, but as you can see, I didn't go below where the cover actually covers the edge, because I don't want it to look all trashy around the corner here. So I did have to cut a slight notch down into the carpet where the main part of the bracket kind of comes down. So I have it bolted in just briefly right now. The only thing that I will note when you're bolting it in is that you want to put the front one on first, because if not, you see how close it is to the bracket there? You won't actually be able to put it on after you get these back two ones on. So you want to make sure you start that one and thread it down evenly with the other ones. It's kind of obvious, but that bracket won't allow that bolt to go there, so it has to be kind of under the bracket. So I notched that side. I haven't done really much to this side yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and notch this side. The best way to do this is hold the bracket just like that, and then put two little marks on each side, and then cut it down about maybe a 1/4 inch at a time, and see, you know, you don't want to cut too much, because then it's going to be obvious that you cut. So just be careful and take your time doing this. So I'm gonna get this side done, and then we'll look at what it takes to hold down the bottom. So stay tuned. So this is going to be what it's going to look like when you cut down that little notch. So it's gonna be something like that. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. But it's just a little square notch, so then that way this bracket can kind of fall down into that, and you won't have any tension there between the carpet and the bracket. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this side bolted up. Now, one thing to mention is if your car is off the ground or something, you want to be careful taking these strut nuts loose because your whole strut could fall down slightly. But my car's on the ground, so it has weight on it, so you won't have to worry about that if your car's on the ground, which I'm assuming most of the people watching will have their car on the ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing loose, get this thing on, then we'll look at the bottom bracket and we'll show you guys how to put that on, so stay tuned. The bottom of the strut here, we have a plate that they send you. Looks just like this. So you're gonna have to put this behind that little bracket that's in the body, and then there's gonna be a thread insert here that's welded to a plate, and then when you tighten it up, it can't actually turn. So there's no threads in the second hole like you can see on this side because I've not yet installed it. So this piece is gonna go behind this piece in the body and then give you threads to use. So that's convenient. It's a little bit hard to get in there correctly because you have to hold this behind there, and then you also have to hold the bracket behind there at the same time and try to get it started all at once. So it's a bit of a challenge, but just push through, you'll get it done. I'm gonna go ahead and get this side on, and then we should be done test fitting and we can step back and take a look at the whole thing installed and see how it looks, so stay tuned. All right, so I have both sides pretty much installed. I have the bolt installed in the bracket right here. I just have it roughly sitting in there. I don't even have a nut on it. And on this side, you can see we're up slightly, but we're gonna be able to push that down. So if I push my body weight on it, you guys can see I can get it down far enough. So I'm gonna get it pushed down and get a bolt in it. I don't really like the rebound that's in that, but I don't think it'll ever cause an issue. It'll just kind of bind up the chassis a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it. Overall, a good fitting product here. Get this bolt in here and then I'll step back and I'll show you guys and we'll get a look at it, so stay tuned. All right guys, so I got the X brace fully installed. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off now, but first take a look at this thing. I think it looks absolutely amazing. This is gonna really stiffen up the rear of the chassis a lot. So shout out to Kien. Like I said, they do a great job. They have a lot of different bracing parts for Subarus. I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing off now, but we're only taking it off to get it powder coated. Once we get it powder coated, I'm gonna throw the install in a separate video, so that way we can come back here. I'm gonna get all this stuff back here kind of straightened up as far as the original foam padding that goes back here, so I can get it looking a little better. Thinking about doing some type of trunk setup, but not quite sure when that will take place. So I'm gonna go ahead and move my way to the front of the car. We're gonna get the front strut brace on, and I'm going to paint the catch can bracket black real quick so that can get to drying, and I'll catch up with you guys here in a little bit. One thing I also wanted to show you guys before we go to the front of the car, I actually cut out the cover. So some of you guys may know you have to cut the cover to kind of fit around the bracket, and I've seen a lot of people kind of cut it too far and it doesn't really look too hot. So I was very careful and I went ahead and cut around it the best I could. So I think it actually looks pretty good, like it's factory. You can't even really tell that it's cut, and it took a little while to do this, but you just don't want to cut too much at first, because then you'll find yourself at a junkyard trying to find some more of these things. But how I did that was I actually had a little aerosol that I used, but you guys can see over here I've marked it, but I have not yet cut it. So I kind of put it on and then I mark it, take it off, cut a little bit, put it back on, see what I need to do, and then modify it to get it right. So very happy with how that looks. I'm gonna go ahead and do this side right now, and then we'll move to the front of the car. All right, so I got that side cut out, and I'm very happy because both of them look very symmetrical and it looks like a factory job. So very happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing off now, and we'll get it to powder coat as well as a couple other parts. And also we're gonna go ahead and install that front strut bar and get a coat of paint on that catch can bracket, so stay tuned. So here is the catch can bracket that I just got done painting black. If any of you guys are wondering, I used the Rust-Oleum semi-gloss protective enamel, so that stuff works pretty well. I didn't even have to like sand it or anything. I just cleaned it off with some carb cleaner, get it really nice and clean. I heat it up a little bit with my heat gun so that way the paint kind of tacks a little better, and shake the hell out of paint can because that'll really help you as well. Let's go over to the car, and I did get to working on the strut brace already, so let's take a look at it. So coming over to the car, I put the strut brace on. I did actually have to like bend this little piece up right here to get the nut past it. So that's gonna be fine though, because that actually is covered by an entire shroud there that covers the cowl there. I got this thing kind of sitting on here. The only issue I'm thinking about is the catch can itself. I'm not sure where the bracket is gonna actually hold it, but where it is right now, it's rubbing up against the strut bar. So as you guys can see, I put just a little like sock there in between there to make sure that it didn't scuff it up, because I guess what's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna have to use some type of smaller filter on the top of it to make it all work, because I like the strut bar, I like the catch can, so something's gonna have to kind of change, but I'm not quite sure what that'll be yet. I'm gonna let this video go off here because I'm kind of at a holding point here with all this stuff, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next one. If you like this video, be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button. Another big shout out to Kien. They hooked me up with that rear strut tower brace, the X bar, so it worked well. I'm gonna get that powder coated and then we'll do a full install video. And yeah, you guys like the video? Drop a like. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.